Ignite. CEDH.
Welcome to Ignite CDH, where we're trying to spark conversations about CDH. My name's Joseph.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Andrew.
And today we're going to talk about the newly released information about the bracket system from Wizards of the Coast. But first, how was everybody's weekend?
Yeah, wasn't bad. We had to call an audible there with the Orangeville tournament changing to Sunday. So I ended up playing Tough Mulligans on Saturday. And 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Made top 16 and then lost to an Ezio turbo list. There's also a really sick deck there that we'll probably highlight a little bit later. Gwenum. It looks like a mono black turbo list. It's Bolas Citadel with legs, and it looked awesome. I'm looking forward to trying that.
And then
Andrew?
Joe and I were at a tournament. Orangeville won. We went 3 rounds and then cut to top 10. Yeah, it was pretty good. We'll tell you about that a bit.
Yeah. The Orangeville tournament was posted incorrectly on Top Deck. The website was saying that it was on Sunday. So that was the official date. Andrew and I both made it down. I went 2-1 in Swiss. Andrew
Also went 2-1 in Swiss.
Oh, it was only 3 rounds.
It was only 3 rounds,
Yeah, there was
yes.
like 19 people or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot.
No.
It's cut to top 10, so top 10 cut is a 2 people bye. The top 2 players get a bye into the final 4. And then the bottom 8 fight for the chance to get to the finals. Cutoff for top 2 was 10 points, where Andrew and I, unfortunately, both missed tiebreakers.
Oh, no.
I was 3rd, Andrew was 4th. Very, very close.
Did they switch off the Japan format then?
No, so it was accidental.
Oh, jeez.
And they never told us that. Yeah.
They set up the tournament, never told us that it wasn't Japanese format until the second round where somebody figured it out. So going to round 3, everybody knew then it was an American format. It was a little scuffed, but it was still a good time. I honestly prefer that format. I went 2-1 in Swiss, playing mid-range Kenrith. Was honestly like really good games. I never really felt winning until I started winning, which was a weird situation. But it was just like the only game I lost was in a game against Crick, which just kind of went out of nowhere and nothing we can do about it.
My only loss was something similar. It was round 3, so I started off 2-0. I lost round 3 to a turn 2 Tully win. First flip was the Rionia, and it just lots of flips after that.
That's a pretty good first flip from a Tolly player recently. Rionia is probably the best thing you could hit. I won my top 16 match. It was a long grinding game where I tainted packed, trying to kind of dig for an answer because everybody kind of knew I didn't have much. And I flip and I stopped like 4 cards down on a Smothering Tithe, and I'm like, I probably should try to find a win because I think this is my opening, but I don't want to go too deep and exile too much. So I stop on a Smothering Tithe, and that was my best decision of the game. That Smothering Tithe let me get Kenrith out, reanimate my Phyrexian Metamorph on a Kinnan, and then I had Kinnan Smothering Tithe to get so much incremental advantage. It was probably the best choice I've made.
Long game too for you to have that Smothering Tithe. Like I
yeah,
remember,
it was a long game. They killed my Kinnan multiple times, but because you kill it, I could just reanimate it. I could put 1/1 counters on stuff with a single treasure. I was healing like this Niv Visit Perun player was trying to kill me, and I was just healing 5 life, 10 life in response to his final point of damage on me. I got down to 1 life multiple times that game, but because I just always had 3 mana up, I was able to keep ahead of the main issue.
Played against that Niv Mizzet player. He was in my round 3 game against the Itali, and I knew 2 of the players you were playing with. I used to play with them, my locals at Owen Sound a lot.
Yeah, so that
Good
was a
work.
good game. Top four, we just split prizing. I got 3 or 4 foils for my deck, and then picked up 3 more on Monday. How was Forbes? I never really heard anything that happened there.
Yeah, Forbes was good. We had 4 players show up, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it means we fired a pod. 5 technically showed up. I sat out so we could just have an easy 4 pod. CDH is already enough with like 3 other people yelling at you. I did not want 4 people yelling at me. Too much. Nope. So yeah, I sat out and just basically hard judged the event. I talked with Jeremy, the owner, and we talked with the players, and we all agreed that we would play to a best of 2. So basically, the first person to get to 2 wins would win the prize support, and we just did winner take all. So 40 entry by 4 people is 160 store credit that went out.
Yeah,
It's a
which is
good
not bad
way
for
to
4
solve that.
people. And the main issue is because Orangeville was incorrectly posted. You had probably a lot less audience than you
Actually,
were
we
hoping.
had someone turn down Orangeville to come to Forbes
Yeah, but
because he was
I
already.
know that a lot of like
Yeah.
the Cambridge people couldn't go because they were already dedicated to Orangeville.
Yeah. And it turned out because you're playing to just 2 wins each, you can't really play for a draw. So, which
Those
means rounds
go
were
long.
rounds were untimed. The first game went 3 hours.
3 hours.
Oh
Oh,
my god, that was the one the control deck won. It was Italian control deck. The deck that won Forbes was Golbez Crystal Collector, which is like an artifact focused commander. Whenever an artifact you control enters Surreal 1, at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 more artifacts, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. And if you control 8 or more artifacts, each opponent loses life equal to that card's power. That the commander didn't come up a whole lot. He basically won by Thoracle comboing twice. He just chose spots really well. And then the other deck list was Thras Vile Smasher, which was a really neat list.
how many games total did you guys play before someone got to the 2 wins?
4. So the only one that didn't get a win was Magda, and basically it's just because the other decks would police Magda. The first
Right.
game that didn't happen too much. They didn't have the tools, but like every game subsequent, Magda was just policed.
Fair enough. So before we kind of get into the new Wizards announcement, um, let's talk about current events coming up in the next 2 weeks. So on Monday nights, every Monday night, I go to Mississauga store, Legendary Collectibles. You will find me there, just jamming some games. They do a little like mini tournament where each round you can play a different deck. It's just super casual and win store credit. But the big tournaments coming up here is Woodstock coming up on the 25th of October. They do a guaranteed 1K tournament where you earn invitational points for the December Invitational, which is a 3K no entry tournament that is cash prizing. And then on October 26th, we also have St. Catharines doing a 1K tournament based on attendance full proxy at Mecca Games. Woodstock tournament is at Nerds Cafe. That is the only events coming up in the next 2 weeks. There's definitely more coming up in November, but we'll get to that in a future day.
Just some other locals. You mentioned that one. Every Friday night, OMG Games in Barrie has a competitive CDH night for store credit. Tuesday night, Carl's Collectible in Aurelia has a competitive sort of CDH. Yeah, a lot of people have CDH decks. Some people are just high powered. You all play there. You compete for points and prizing, packs, that sort of stuff. And then in Owen Sound, the last Tuesday night of every month, there's a for store credit competitive night there too, in Scenic City, just for local events. If you're around
Any
any
quick
of those.
shout outs there, Kev?
Nothing we haven't gone over. The three Woodstock tournaments. Forbes next tournament is November 23rd. And then there's the December 6th is the next dual land tournament, I think, in Cordis.
Curtis, and I'm going to try to make that one. I'm going to try and be there. I haven't
Yeah,
shown up to
for
that, but it's a
Volcanic
great thing.
Island. There's also Andrew's going to Frenzy at the Falls in November. Uh,
Yeah, U.S. side, Niagara Falls, 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, Frenzy at the Falls. It's a big one.
okay,
Yeah.
well, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation. We have a Wizards announcement about the bracket system. Now, a lot of that conversation does not have anything to pertain to CDH, but there was definitely some interesting points. They brought up some conversation of potential bans that they're looking at coming up, and the idea of bringing in hybrid mana cost spells into um, the a half deck, like a green white spell into a mono green deck, or to kind of accommodate. It's always been that thought where this spell can be played by either a mono deck or the a two color deck.
Basically, if the deck has access to one of the colors, it can play that. The other thing that I noticed later in the article is they had what they called, I think, Bybrid. Basically, you can play 2 mana or one of the colored mana, two generic and one of the colored, and those cards would go in any deck.
Yeah. Um, like Beseech the Queen. What we wanted to talk about first is the hybrid mana. It brings in an interesting aspect into decks that might not have a resource that now have that resource.
Yeah. It also really helps just low color decks in general be more competitive with just high color piles and everything. Like 1, 2 color decks, especially green getting access to hybrid mana when they print future cards. It's a nice boost to low color decks. And I'm a big fan of 2 color decks. Jorah, whether like Captain, Kinnan, um, AC, all those 2 color decks, it really helps them. Monocolor decks, Urza, all that. So I think this is great change.
It's not a solidified change yet, but it's something they're
Yeah,
considering. They're
exactly.
asking for community feedback. I
Yeah,
personally have always thought that should be the case. And a lot of the stuff, like, it doesn't give access to things super far outside their color identity. There's not a lot that, like, you're not gonna give, mono blue hard removal a lot of the time. More what it is just stuff that's like slightly skirting the edge uh of their color pie. So like mono green
yeah,
already has things that stop being countered, but vexing structure is just a different way to do that. It's a better or worse, that's debatable, but a different way, and one that you can activate as you need it.
yeah. It's recurring. So like the first one we were thinking of is Vexing Shusher. Like, is it playable in something like Kinnan? Um, that is like an interesting question. Now,
Is
I
it?
think Kinnan got a recent card that they don't play that does the same thing as Vexing Shusher.
Are you talking
And
Mizra's Village?
Misrise Village, yeah.
Thing is, this the political side is you could interact with someone else's counterspell. Say you don't have a counterspell, and
That
right,
is
Yeah.
the other side of it. Yes,
Yeah,
that's the
they're
one thing that it gives access to that Kinnan didn't have, because the Kinnan always like prowling Serpapard. There's so many things in green blue, especially green, that stop spells from being countered. But this is the first one that you can like that. I need that counterspell to not be countered. You've targeted it. You've wasted your spell. Now I'm gonna make that not be countered.
yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big
Yeah.
thing. You hold it over rather than doing it in advance. And the card I compared it to is, um, I know it's been phased out of a lot of Kinnan decks, but still some of these plays it bounces in and out is Glenelendra. Both has
Oh yeah.
1 mana. And I think Vexing Shusher is better than Glenelendra. What do you guys think?
it's
Glen
definitely
Elendra, for those who
cheaper.
don't know.
Yeah, cheaper.
It has it's a 2/2 flyer that has persist or undying. I can't remember which
Hmm.
one.
That persist.
And it pays 1 blue to counter one non-creature spell by sacrificing it. and you basically get that ability twice, unless you can manipulate it.
I think it's better than Vexing Shusher.
It's Glen Elendra's better than Vexing Shusher or Vexing
No,
Shusher?
sorry. Vexing
Yeah.
Shusher is better than Glen Elendra.
Oh, Vexing Shusher beats that all day. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
less mana. It doesn't sacrifice itself, so you don't have to like. Because there's a point with Glen Elendra where you can respond to their persist trigger to get something off in between. You can't do that with Vexing Shusher.
yeah. And it just
Uh,
holds up. People are less likely to want to use a counterspell if you're politicking well with it
well, look at
on
me.
your own
Look at me
thing.
when I would play. Even just having it on the board, the
Yeah,
Patron Wizard that we talked about a couple episodes ago. It's just I have this on the board. I can counter your thing. Go ahead and fire something off. It
yeah.
slows the game right down.
And one green is a lot better with Elvish Spirit Guide than one blue for the Glen Elendra cost.
And with Kinnan, you just I like an arcane signet counters two things, or stops two things from being
It can,
countered.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
very mana efficient.
yeah.
Fair enough. We also have some other interesting cards that we can go into, like a Guttural Response. However, I feel like Guttural Response is just adding a third Red Blast or Pyroblast to a deck. That's
It's pretty narrow.
significantly
Yeah.
worse.
It's a lot
Um,
worse. Yeah, not being able to hit Rhystic, Mystic.
It
yeah.
might see play in mono red lists, but even those I don't think played both. Like you would want red elemental and pyroblast before you play Vexing Shusher,
Yeah, the only thing is like
or before
like
you
a
play
very
Federal Response. Sorry.
like tight deck that really needs the interaction. Like I've thought about playing Guttural Response in, for example, Atali, which is already allowed to play it.
Hmm.
Just because I have one game plan, it's turbo out Atali, and having interaction can help with that. Um, so I could see that being in other turbo decks, um, or other like Rakdos maybe decks. But it could definitely be an interesting card. A third card that is probably going to see a lot more play than the other two, I would say Manamorphose. What do
Yeah,
you think
that's
about
a big
that?
one.
Yes.
So Manamorphose, if you don't know, is a hybrid red-green, a +1 colorless. It will let you draw a card and make 2 mana of any color. So it's a card filtering with like um, a positive drawing a card, so it kind of just replaces itself.
And as
Yeah,
an
it's a
instant,
free card basically. It makes your 99 into a 98.
and I could see it in Rogsai, a turbo list, especially decks that multicolored that needs filtering. If you have, say, Soul Ring up and um, you draw, say, off a Rhystic, or you draw somewhere a Simian Spirit Guide, exile that, tap the Rhystic, Metamorphs, you can make any two you want, a blue for Born Upon a Wind, two black for Cabal Ritual or Dark Ritual into an Ad Naus on someone's turn. Uh,
How about this deck? Kark Shakashima.
Oh god, I quit.
oh, yes. It's,
That
No,
that would be insane, right? Like I think
that's the best
that's an
card. It's the best
instant
card in that
slot
deck.
in that
It's
deck.
the best card in that deck.
well, I don't
Yeah.
know about the best, but it's good.
It's
Uh,
up there.
draw a
Taxi
card,
Road
make
didn't
4 mana. I draw 2 cards, make 4 mana. At the
Yeah,
worst case
it's
scenario, it's
Well,
pretty
it's
good.
best case scenario.
Well, no, that's if you have one card can clone it. It's
But
like
yeah,
I guess worst
I
case is
guess.
bouncing it back to your hand, but then you could
Yeah,
still
worst
do it.
case you do nothing. So it's I guess
Yeah,
not the best card because there's like some free spells, but definitely a really good card in that list. That
yeah.
would.
It's
God, I just don't want
+2 mana.
to
Yeah,
play against more Krakashima. People are
yeah.
just.
there's a good
I
Woodstock player in
I'm not
Woodstock.
gonna get into the Quark hate.
Yeah.
I
Um,
I think that the card could see a lot of play,
yeah.
and especially decks that we just don't think about. Like, I think it can slot into some Mardu decks or stuff that need card filtering.
That
Because it
goes
can
into
filter
Rakdos.
colors,
Yeah.
and it could go into Rakdos for sure. It's literally mana neutral. It's like you said, 98 cards,
Yeah.
instead of a 99 card deck. It's
Do you
like
you play it in Atali, right?
I don't know if it
I
goes.
not always. Some lists don't play it in Natali. My list does not play it because it's not mana positive unless you have
Of
a
class
reduction.
reducer. Yeah.
I more care about positive
But
mana
Yeah,
instead
Ral
of
but
would be playing it. There's a
mana neutral.
lot of decks that would want this. I think the green in Manamorphose really holds it back. if it was purely just red, colorless, it fits in a lot of turbo red decks. It's exactly what red wants to be doing, not so much green. And then, like you could say, Rog Thrast is a turbo deck, but it doesn't have a lot of red. It doesn't need the mana filtering that the Manamorphous provides.
Yeah, putting it in even like a sands green, uh, a sands green like a T and K might not even be that bad. But again, it helps filter mana so you can cast any card instead of like searching stuff, and it's a one less card in your deck. It's like a Gitaxian Probe. It's
I could see
literally a
that working.
free spell as long as you have 2 mana, and one of those being red.
I
Any
could see it
last thoughts?
absolutely going into a Rog size, even blue farms, more turbo oriented blue farms of, draw a card, filter mana into 2 white for a Grand Abolisher, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, good card.
yeah. Now you don't need 2 white to play a Grand Abolisher. It's freaking scary.
Yeah.
So the next card we have on my list is Spider Woman. I think this hybrid mana actually makes Spider Woman a lot better of a card. Um,
Yeah, it's stacks for decks that don't have white, which most stacked decks are going to run white. But
but like Urza,
there- yeah, no, Urza gets better with.
it's not doesn't affect Urza, and it's like strictly just is a decent stacks card. Um,
Not an artifact though itself,
it's not an artifact,
right?
no, but it's a blind
Yeah.
obedience in blue, right? Like it's a really decent card. Um, I think it can sneak into other control decks like Talion, like a Demir control deck or a Grixis control, something like that. Like it could fit into such random decks. You could also put it into like a Mardu deck or something like that, right? Like
Well, yeah, it's any deck where you want your opponent to go slower, and
yeah,
that's your game plan. You put that in for sure.
yeah.
Like a
It
zombie
fits.
might even pick it up. Not that a zombie sees a lot of play, but I just played it recently. It's
You
on.
got a zombie on the mind, buddy.
I got a zombie on the mind.
That was a good game we played with you, Zombie. I like that.
Another good stacks piece that comes out of this hybrid mana change proposal is Ashiok the Dream Renderer.
Another
Um,
Azami card.
Another zombie card, sure. It is also a Azorius control card now.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah, like not being opponents not being able to search their deck is oddly very good. People hate on Archivist of Ogma when it was first released, but that card has card
Sees a
advantage.
lot of play.
People
It
search their
wins
decks
games.
a lot.
Oh yeah.
I've got it in my blue farm. It does well. Yeah.
Yeah. And have one more card on my list here, Zerta the Dawn Waker. Zerta is like it goes into other decks that might be able to manipulate a Grim Monolith or something else like that.
Any like
I
training
can't
deck.
think of like great decks for it. Maybe like Heliod, or something.
Uh, yeah.
There's Yori and Sky Nomad
Oh
as a
yeah,
potential for Kinnan, but I think you'd have to change the deck a lot.
I
Maybe
think
add.
I think it would be a different build of Kinnan that would play well.
Yeah, they would take a lot of experimenting, but it's not. It's worth mentioning.
Big time, yeah.
There's definitely a lot of Blink synergies that you
Yeah.
can do. It's just you'd have to build around it, and I don't know enough about. Like I'm pretty comfortable with my Kinnan build, and it would take a lot of experimenting and brewing to. But yeah, it's definitely I can see people doing that and cooking with it. I think it has potential. That
Yeah,
kitten just
I feel like it's too expensive is my issue with it. It's
Kinnan can make the mana. You can hit it off a flip. It's not.
yeah, but I feel like better cards for Kinnan at that price. Is like that's my issue is like there is Kinnan literally is 18 pieces of like decent creatures that do stuff on a stick. I don't know if
So what you might be doing then is you're going to look at cards with ETBs and stuff like that, right? So you're probably kicking out your next Bloom Ancient, some cards like that, right?
Yeah,
I think Tidespout Hullbreakers still always have a place, but you'd be, I don't, card, Con Sphinx doesn't have an ETB, but it's still too good. Like, it would take a lot of experimenting. You'd
yeah,
probably,
and a lot of the decks right now for Kinnan is no bad cards, Kinnan.
yeah,
You're losing a lot more creature
yeah,
spaces with those. So, I don't
yeah,
know. It would be interesting to see in the deck. I just don't know how good that would be. Um,
yeah, I agree.
Definitely maybe Brewer's Advantage type esque. But I think that's the last card on my list. Does anyone want to go to the next topic?
The next point in the commander announcement, they discussed a couple cards that they were looking not necessarily at banning, but they want community feedback on them. They're looking at Thassa's Oracle and Rhystic Study. How do you guys feel about Rhystic Study?
Rhystic Stuff, I was surprised at it. One of the two cards I bought when I first started playing expensive cards was a Rhystic Study and a Cyclonic Rift. And from my experience, a lot of newer players, um, at casual tables, you don't like Rhystic Study. They're constantly asking people, "Do you pay the one?" Um, People don't like hearing that. They're trying to count mana during their turn, count up their cards, see what they can play. They don't like constantly being asked, "Do you pay the one?" From a casual standpoint, which is most of the player base, and I think they compared it to being as popular and ingrained in the format as Soul Ring. So I was really
Yeah,
surprised.
that was a wild step to take. I don't think it's at Soul Ring levels of everybody likes this card. I
I
will.
From what I've read, I didn't interpret it like it's like Soul Ring. I interpret it as it's iconic like Soul Ring. Um, and
Sure.
what they mean by that is Soul Ring has been in every single precon ever made.
It is, you're right. But it's like it's still like a dollar card versus
Yeah,
60
but
bucks.
that wasn't my point is about that. It's so Soul Ring is a very iconic card, but the probably the most iconic saying is "Do you pay to one?"
The
I think
most
it's a
iconic
good
saying in this
saying though.
commander is what does that do? That's the most iconic saying in commander because in casual commander you don't know what any of the 40,000 cards do in Magic.
Oh,
And,
I just ignore what every other card does. I just care about my game
yeah.
plan. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
One thing I noticed, I looked it up on the Salt score, and I think it's Rhystic Studies like top five on the Salt score of players don't like it. They don't like
Probably,
playing
yeah.
against
Well,
it.
part of the problem is like people don't play into it properly. If you pay the one for Ristic, it's just like having your like things cost one more. And you can't do that every time. There's times where you shouldn't pay the one, etc., etc., etc. CDH is probably the biggest time where you should consider not paying the one because that's where you're doing these tight combos where you have all these lines that are like, okay, I can make a combo here, but I can't afford to pay the one because I'm only netting one mana, or I'm only like, I don't have that mana available, or
And
you're just like you're setting up on your early turns. Someone gets a turn one Ristic, and you're like, well, I still need to cast my Chrome Mox and Soul Ring, so
and for draws, the people not liking the draw meta, I think Rhystic Study is perhaps the biggest factor leading to the draw meta. Someone's trying to win, you're drawing all these cards, everything on the stack. Um, you draw the interaction to stop them, or another player has the interaction and they say, I can stop the one player, but you've drawn 10 cards off Rhystic, you're going to win on your turn, let's have a draw. I think banning Rhystic Study, getting rid of all that, would help the draw meta that people don't like.
I I can see two evils with this in a sense. I see if we get rid of Ristic, it leaves so much opening for turbo decks because
yes,
there will
that's
be
my big point.
very little amount of interaction. Um, as I said in I believe the last podcast, there's a finite amount of resources in the game, um, and Ristic Study increases those resources. Now, it also can very heavily kingmake a person if improperly used, 100%. But it is a turbo deck. For example, Atali. I've played Atali for half a year now. Um, and the only games that I feel like I lose are Rhystic Study games or games that people hold up counter magic like a Mindbreak Trap. It is very hard for me to lose a game against a deck that the person who didn't hold up interaction or a zero Rhystic Study game. I think it's a severe, like I think it shouldn't be taken lightly. Like, I know Rhystic Study is the vein of a lot of our existences. It's a really harsh card, unless you are the one that has it. But it is something. It feels sometimes like a necessary evil. It slows down the game in a sense where people either have to play properly around a Rhystic Study, or a turbo deck wins. Like, I feel like sometimes no in between.
Yeah, cards like that really do a lot to hold turbo in check. You're absolutely correct there. Um, and I'm on the side, don't ban Rhystic. That's my personal thing. I think it contributes too much to CEDH that it shouldn't be banned. But there is the other side of it, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Of I cast a spell, you have a Rhystic trigger, you have a Rhystic trigger, Jeff has a Rhystic trigger, and then people play poorly into that. Do I respond to them? Do I not? You should always respond to your opponent's Rhystic triggers, but then they get buried in the stack, and then it takes an extra like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to sort of stack out when you're going through it, because then you get the person, oh wait, I had a Rhystic Study trigger, and now we got to back the stack up and figure out if that draw makes a difference.
I'm on the ban Rhystic Study. I think it changes the format.
Ban? Oh man, you want to ban Rhystic Study?
Yeah, I don't think
If
there's.
they ban Rhystic Study, I am immediately building a turbo deck.
But the thing is with Turbo Deck is half the time what you're tutoring for is a win condition or a Rhystic Study.
Yeah, so you just tutor for more win conditions
But then like
or a
Rogsai,
Wondering.
I
Right.
think Rogsai gets worse without a Rhystic.
All decks get worse without a Rhystic, but it means you can combo off without fear of someone drawing into something.
But if they have any interaction, then you're cooked. You can't just, tutor for Rhystic to wait until you get back in it. There's no card advantage in your commander or any. I think any commander with a card advantage engine gets a lot better without Rhystic.
Well, then you tutor into like Wondering, or I'm sure there's some other draw spell that will take its place. Necropotence, Necrodominance.
Yes.
There's a lot. Again, they're a little more limited, but they are more, especially the Necros, they're more bursty. They will just like,
Yeah.
okay, I draw 30. If I'm not going to tutor Heuristic, I'm going to tutor for Necro, draw 30 cards, and hope that my Born Upon the Wind's in there, and I just go off my hand step.
Yeah, and I think a Necro definitely can be more scary, but it's also a card that has a significant downside.
It
Um,
does. Yep.
and that is what makes it feel more balanced than Rhystic.
More
Um,
balanced, but I'm just saying that you don't lose card
it's
advantage
bursty.
because you're not tutoring for Ristic. You just tutor for something else in a turbo deck. A turbo deck doesn't get worse; it gets better because it can go off without fear of having someone of drawing someone 15 cards. Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Here's a
like
question for you guys. So when I'm playing Kinnan, sometimes if I flip into a Metamorph, one of the best cards I'd clone with that Metamorph, or even cast naturally, would be an Esper Sentinel.
Yeah.
So if say Rhystic got banned and they created a new card that's Rhystic whatever, Rhystic Study 2. I don't know the name of they're gonna call it. But it's this 3-mana enchantment, same thing. And it's like it's the same as an Esper Sentinel. First spell you cast a turn, you pay one. I would still play that. Would you?
I
I
still
would
play
not
that.
play a 3 cast version of an Esper Sentinel.
Yeah, I guess it's 3 cost.
But for any spell, not just non-creature.
Sure,
2 cost for sure. 3 cost, I would debate it. I would probably still play it in Blue Farm, but I wouldn't play it in decks that don't. Because like it's just pay one too. It's not even that much,
I
Yeah.
and
think
it's the
there's
first spell
a
you
lot
cast in
of
that turn.
I think there's a lot of cards that have that say draw a card that can see play before that will see play. Like, I think Trouble in Pairs would be a better consideration, even though it's more expensive. It has more possibility,
Mm-hmm.
and that is like my main gripe about your proposal. There is it's 3 mana, so you're probably getting it out on. Obviously, you can get it out on turn one, but turn two is probably the median of getting it out if you have it in your hand already. And on turn two, do I want to spend 3 mana and potentially tap a mana vault in order to do so, to get that out, it is significantly worse than Esper. Esper is the best white card for one drop. It's unmatched, but I don't think it's worth as 3 mana. But I'm also doing a hard comparison against Rhystic Study, which is still very unbiased.
Yeah, so what about the Thoracle discussion? I have opinions on it. I'm gonna let you guys go first, but I have opinions.
I am on the side of banning Thoracle.
What?
I
Thoracle should stay.
Sir!
I look. I think there are a million ways to win in CDH, and
Uh-huh.
Thoracle lessens the amount of brewing.
It's such
Now,
a clean win,
some
though.
decks rely on it so much, and like Dimir decks have very little ways to win, and that is something that I have to take into account. That would be lost, but I think, for example, Blue Farm losing a Thoracle combo, it brings them down to a little bit of a lesser height that they are already currently at, but they could just add in a new combo that can win them the game. It's, I think, a very busted card that just has very little requirements to win.
I mean, with Blue Farm, I primarily win through Breach. Thoracle is like my backup win con. I think
Okay.
But
My lazy breach combo is to mill my deck, play Thoracle. That's lazy breach. That's how you beat a
see, I
one
didn't
ring
even do
effect.
that. People never
But
see.
if
I always
that's how
mill
it beats
their
one ring,
decks, and then I
yeah,
wheel.
then you can't win against one ring protection.
You can definitely still win against one ring protection. You just need to convolute the loop a little bit more. But you win. One of my favorite ways to win now is mill everyone out. I keep like 10 cards in my library, and then I just bring in a Fairy Mastermind and have everyone draw a card.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
But
How
either
does that
way,
beat one ring?
I'm sorry.
How does that beat the one ring in breach combo deck?
You can beat it with Wheel of Fortune. I have to have more cards I have to have more cards in my library, but if I'm losing Thoracle, maybe I just add a way to reshuffle my library in, right?
Yeah, there's a Shuffle Titan.
Yeah, something like that, right?
But then you don't have Underworld Breach in your graveyard.
I mean, I think if you do that, you play Labman as the easy
Labman is also a
replacement.
very easy replacement.
Labman is the solution to that for sure. But
Now,
at the same time, Labman is still significantly worse.
But not for Blue Farm. I mean, it is. Sorry, it is significantly worse. Blue Farm would cover that up better than most with Grand Abolisher style effects.
yeah.
Yes, but Lab Maniac doesn't win with Demonic Consultation tainted back by itself.
No, but it wins with that and anything that says draw a card.
Sure, I'm not discounting that. Like that's obviously a resolution, and that's what they played before Thassa's Oracle was printed. But I'm just saying,
Well, I guess it was a deck before Thassa's Oracle, but CEDH has taken off a lot since then. It's just a different, different pattern.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to Thassa's Oracle win. Two of my decks I play competitively are Droyer, Weatherlight Captain, and Kinnan, Bonded Prodigy, both of which no Thassas.
Yeah,
So,
I think
yeah.
in Kinnan specifically, I've seen Kinnan decks play Thassa's Oracle, and everybody calls it a crutch. Like nobody.
It's a
I've
mistake.
never met a person who thinks they should be playing Thassa's Oracle and Kinnan. I
Yeah.
think it's for inexperienced players that we're trying to find a way to win after they draw their deck from Thrasios.
And I should say that's the same with Walking Ballista. I know a lot of people play it. I've seen them win with it with Basalt, and they just have the Ballista in hand, but you shouldn't play Ballista. That's
Yeah,
my
you have fine
Now,
combos. You have your
I'm
whole deck.
gonna. I like to go back to something you said. Good sir. You said there's a million ways to win in CDH. That's true. There's not maybe not a million, but there's a lot of ways to win in CDH. If we ban Thassa's Oracle, the next best thing will just become the best way to win in CDH.
And Thassa's Oracle isn't
That
even the best way to win. It's number
it's,
two.
it's actually not. There's a lot of
Yeah,
decks that forego Thoracle when they could play it.
but just Breach is the best way to win, I believe.
Sure,
Oracle
but
stuff.
Breach has a lot higher requirements. Like, don't get me wrong. You can play Breach in a mono red deck and it'd be fine. But the best Breach decks are Jessica. You need Jessica to make Breach actually a super viable win con.
I mean, there's a lot of storm decks that just right. Is it storm decks that just storm through their deck? They hit breach and they go.
Yeah,
But
but
you're right. You can't
that's not
two-hit them.
winning because of Breach. That's winning because you're going Storm. You have Ral. Like it just gets you
Yeah.
refuels your need, but you can play Past in Flames to kind of get a similar effect, but it's worse, obviously. But it's those decks are not relying on Breach. I'm saying Breach, Brain Freeze combo is the most common combo, second most common combo to win with, right? That is that's how Blue Farm wins a lot of its games, if it's not winning with Thoracle. And what I'm trying to say is Breach is really good in a Jeskai color pie.
Sure. Yeah.
It's gets significantly worse when you don't have white for Savine's Rec, meaning that you can't intuition for it now. And then it gets significantly worse if you don't have Brain Freeze. You have to use something like a grinding station
Wheel of Fortune.
or Wheel of Fortune, right?
I see a
Like,
lot of grinding stations have been going in faster blue farm decks now.
Grinding Station's picking up steam, absolutely.
Yeah.
I still don't think you ban Thoracle. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a hard to interact with win condition. And it's not like there's not ways. People, like, you can run force draw, like force someone to draw a card if their deck is empty. If this really becomes that big of a deal, then we maybe just look at running more stifle effects. I don't think, uh, I don't think banning Thoracle is maybe not meaningful enough isn't the right word, but it doesn't, it just doesn't, it doesn't matter to me. There's going to be another win con.
yeah,
And that win con is just gonna make games take longer. If I don't have a Thoracle and I have to loop my deck like 15 times to generate mana or to draw someone out, that's
yeah.
that's just gonna end
Look,
with longer games. Look, like I'll show you like it'll take longer for me to. I'm still in a winning board state. I just now takes me an extra 30 game actions to win, and we sit here for 5 extra minutes.
look. I'm not saying that I think Thoracle is the most busted card in existence, right? Like I'm saying, I like the idea of more deck building or brewing, more combos coming into the format because one less great combo is in the format. Now, it is a valid statement. Like it is a card that is very bad on its own. It requires another card to assist it, and a lot of decks forego it. Like, there's a good argument with it. I'm just more on the idea of banning it because I don't mind the idea of losing Thoracle more than I mind the idea of deck building getting more interesting.
I think the rules committee did a perfect job when they summed it up. It's a divisive. CDH players have strong opinions for it, for and against.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the fence, but I like seeing both your opinions for and against it. I think the rules committee did a good job of summing this one up.
And I think it's important to point out that when CDH players called for Flash to be banned, it's because Flash was legitimately ruining the format.
Yeah,
This was that before you played, Andrew?
way before. Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
about
it was
that. Yeah.
before me
Okay.
too.
So Flash, I wasn't playing at the time, but I would follow along with the metagame, like
But yeah, it's a Protein
I'd
Hawk
follow along with the
combo.
content. It's a protein hall combo, but it would let you do it on turn 0. So if I had any way, I would basically mulligan for Flash and Protein Hulk, and any way to get mana to cast it on turn 1 or turn like before you could act. You would take
Gemstone
your upkeep,
Caverns
and I
and
would win on your
Simian
upkeep.
Spirit Guide.
It
Yeah.
led to people winning on upkeeps on top of each other. You talk about uninteractable, very uninteractable, especially with 0 mana on the board, almost impossible. That was a legitimate thing where it wasn't seeing playing casual because it just didn't do enough. It wasn't good enough, and it was ruining CDH to the point where like the entire metagame was warped around it.
Chancellor of the Annex, come on. Um,
Sorry, I don't run Chancellor or the Annex. No. Yeah, that's on me, guys. I'll go back in time and suggest that.
yeah, I think definitely there. I think there has to be something done to the CDH format because I think the CDH format is in this weird spot where the top deck is pretty far in the lead of being the top deck, and has been consistently the top deck for a while. I don't think bans are necessarily 100% of the answer, but I think maybe next week we should talk about potential unbans coming up for next year.
Have they talked about potential unbans?
No,
Or
but
just what
let's.
we think
What
would be?
what do you think would be good?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
It's the next week's topic.
Yeah.
I
No
know
worries.
one that I'd really like to see. Um,
I know one too. I think
is it
primetime would make Luma really good.
it was the one for Joyride before I played it. Paradoxal, they mentioned it as a possible unbanning.
Paradox Engine is not coming back. Good luck
I
with
think the
that.
casual players, it's too slow. It's like a Nadu effect. But I think it's a 5 mana card. I think that should
I
see play
think
in
Unwinding
CEDH.
Clock was enough for me.
The fun thing about Paradox Engine, because that's when I was first started getting into CDH, and
Yeah,
I had one. I had a deck like I was playing Grixis with it. Uh, Decks were taking out Paradox Engine because it was too slow in CDH.
too slow. Yeah, and that was
It,
back
it,
then for
it
five.
wasn't a CDH problem; it was a casual problem, right?
Yeah,
And like I think you could for a CDH metagame, you could safely unban and it would be fine. It would just wreak way too much havoc in casual.
I think it would go in Kin and definitely Joyride. Like some decks, like I don't think it would factor. Most decks aren't going to play it.
No,
But I think it,
it's fine in CDH. Yeah.
yeah, I think so too. That's what I'd like to see.
And for our final topic for tonight, we have some questions made up by my friends here.
Yeah, let's get into a little bit of overreaction, like when someone said they wanted to ban Thoracle, and I freaked out a little bit. That was the first overreaction.
I've got a good one here. So um, with all the talk about banning Thassa's Oracle, I was thinking back to a card, Angel's Grace, that used to be a lot better before Grand Abolisher style effects. So I was thinking, what we need is a Beseiju who endures, the card with the channel ability, but Angel's Grace text on it. So instead of tapping for green, it would be tap for white, and it's replace Beseiju text with Angel's Grace text. So you could channel it, an Angel's Grace, through a Grand Abolisher stylus effect to stop the Thassa's Oracle. What do you guys think about that card? Would you play it in your decks?
Uh,
Because it's a land, I would. Um,
it yeah, adds a land in anything that's like 3 or less colors. It's pretty much free to play. In Blue Farm, I don't know if I play a mono white land in Blue Farm that I can't fetch.
I wouldn't play it in the Kenrith either because mono white lands are a bit tough in Kenrith's pie. But
Mm.
I think in, let's say, Heliod or it's another good low color white deck, Elsha, I think those become a lot
I think
more
it'd be good in
viable.
Ultra. Yeah.
But it's again a lot more of a more. A lot of cards are played in CDH because there are a lot can be proactive and reactive. I've never liked Angel's Grace because it's only ever reactive. Like there's one proactive situation with Angel's Grace when it comes to ad nauseum, but
But it's not even
otherwise,
played like that in
and
CDH.
it's I've never seen it played like that. It's always been I don't want to lose, which is like a decent mindset, but it's still like because it's a land, it makes it a lot more tempting. I will say.
It does,
Um,
yeah. It definitely like. I think maybe the big question is: do you replace Angel's Grace, or do you play it where you wouldn't play Angel's Grace? If you want Angel's Grace, you definitely play it. If you don't want Angel's Grace, it really depends how aggressive your mana base is. And if you already are playing Angel's Grace, you definitely play it. So I don't think it would see a terrible. This is tough. This is a good freaking question. This isn't an overreaction question. This is a thinker. That was a good
no,
question.
no, my
Good question.
I
Yeah.
I have an overreaction. I don't think Angel's Grace should be played.
No, really. See, I
I
have it as about my 102nd card in just about every deck. There's a player at my locals who would sandbag the heck out of an Angel's Grace. He would look like deer in the headlights or whatever, shocked that there's a Thassa's Oracle in the stack, doesn't know what to do. Everyone fights over it, right? All these counter magic, all these spells come out, Force of Will, whatever. If it's about to resolve, he just sits there. He like will always pass turn with one white up or one black, and then an Angel's Grace comes out. He will never overcommit. It's really impressive. Grand Abolish style effects and more of that has really kind of taken that play away. But that's what I always think of is I'm terrified playing like a naked Thassa's Oracle with no Grand Abolisher
sure,
because of that.
and I
So,
think it's really good against that one combo.
yeah.
I think it's really bad against almost every other combo in the format. Angel's Grace does not beat Underworld Breach Brain Freeze.
Yeah.
I guess it leaves you with an empty library, yeah. So
Yeah,
you
and
just
then you
gotta,
go to your turn and you lose when you draw a
yeah,
card. Like it,
yeah.
it's
No, so it's not worth the
I
card slot, but is it worth the land slot for you?
might be worth a land slot, but in my opinion, it's not worth a spell slot. Like I've seen people use it, and it's like a really good example is Playing with Power released a video today, and Rog Thras ended up playing a loop where he was evidently going to win. They weren't sure about what the loop is. The next player cast Angel's Grace because they knew the opponent was going to win. The Rog Thras player played an Eternal Witness Lightning Bolt loop where they killed everybody and put that one guy down to one life, and on upkeep just killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it was an irrelevant card. And there's a lot of different combos that are very similar to. I can get you to either no resources left in your deck, get you to one life, or I could just kill you on your upkeep, um, and whatnot. But it does beat a Thoracle win. I'll give it that.
Does the question change for you if it's an MDFC and not a channel ability? So it still has split
Oh,
second, but you can play it basically as your 25th to 29th or whatever, basically your extra land. But sometimes, if you know you're playing Thoracle, you can hold it up.
that makes it a lot worse because the whole point of the channel is to get through the Grand Abolisher style effects.
True. Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, what other how much more rage bait can you get me?
So another overreaction one is more of say you're going to tournaments to get some credit. You want to get some cards. They don't have some cards you look for. Some maybe you trade them in later. From a financial standpoint, MTG Magic Finance, that's kind of a thing. Who throws Research Craft is about $3. It's an artifact vehicle. You draw a card when it gets to station 3. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a mini Joyra. I've been loving it in my Joyra Weatherlight Captain deck. I think it goes in Urza, a lot of decks. It should be played in every blue artifact deck, and it's well worth the cost at $3. If you have, you know, some cards you want to spec on some magic cards, I think that's a card worth specking on. What do you guys think?
I don't know
Um,
enough about that card,
Specking
honestly.
on magic cards is very difficult. Basically, what you want to do is look for cards that effects that they aren't likely to reprint that are also powerful. But as we get into more power creep, they're more likely to print new cards. Unique effects are very good. Effects that have only been printed once, I think, like I said. It's a really difficult craft. I've tried it a couple times. Now I'm only down like I tried it with like 25-cent cards, and yeah, didn't rush out. Nice. I now have like I think I have like 20. Oh, I can't remember what the card is. It's like a 25-cent rare, right? I don't think specking on cards is worth spending your store credit. I don't think that's a card to spec on necessarily. $3 per copy is already pretty high. It's not a unique effect. I don't know if there's a bunch of cards that draw you a card when you play an artifact, but there's enough that I don't think it's going to see a super high amount of play. It being an artifact itself is kind of cool. It going in Joyra, great. I don't think it might slowly climb, but I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of specking on cards like that. It's just like it's really tough to predict the market, right? And I think specking on CDH is not a great way to spend money. Uh,
CEDH is too niche of a format,
it's
absolutely.
a
Yeah.
very niche format, and like you could really hit the nail on the head with like if you bought a Timna at its lowest point, you made a ton of money. But it's it's really tough to just say, hey, here's an artifact that's really good in CDH. I'm sure it'll go up in price in a long time, maybe. I just don't think it's like I'm not going to buy 100 of that card and put my life savings on it.
Yeah, I think it just boils down to specking itself is really difficult.
In my opinion, if you're buying card to maintain value or go up in value, yeah, the only answer is reserved list.
And you better hope they don't reprint the reserve list one day.
That would be a good overreaction. Will they reprint the reserve list one day?
I think it's better frame that as should they reprint the reserve list. Or what would happen if... Nah, we all know what would happen. But, man, pre-printing the reserve list, you try... Oh, boy. Oh, boy, get me excited. Let's go. Let's reprint the reserve.
Make that an overreaction right now.
With tournaments propping up all over, more and more players getting into Magic. With the power creep in Magic, people are playing higher power Magic all the time. More people are playing tournaments. Um, they should reprint the reserve list so everyone has access to more powerful dual lands.
I cannot yes big enough. Oh boy. There's CDH implications, there's legacy implications, there's investor implications, there's oh my gosh. Does anyone want to have a quick point before I get into it?
I my quick point is I think they should have a reserve list. I don't think it should be the current reserve list. I think Mox, Black Lotus, and other cards like that are fine being on the reserve list. I think dual lands and
Magic
random
staples, Grim
creatures.
Monolith, all those kind of things you
Yeah,
want reprinted.
yeah, it's
Table
things
cards.
like things that are technically playable in Commander. Period. Doesn't seem like it should be on a reserve list, and there's a lot of reserve list cards that are completely useless. Right, like there's no point of them being on the reserve list other than they were printed at the time and never were reprinted by the time they got on the reserve list. Like so, I I think a reserve list is fine. I don't think the current reserve list is good.
So we're talking from a financial standpoint, like the reserve list artificially inflates the price of the cards. It also protects investments for people who invested in the game early. I think that was probably necessary when the game was like 80% collectors, 20% players, or whatever it was back then. It used to be a lot more collector based, and we're getting some of that now with the Universes Beyond and stuff. Um, but looking at this is the most extreme example. Volcanic Island Unlimited on MTG Goldfish is $975. If you want a copy on Magic Online, the cheapest one is 12 tickets. That is 12 American dollars. That like these cards are so artificially propped up by the reserve list that I just it's impossible to access them now. You would tank the market on them overnight, even just printing anonymous cards. So you can't print Volcanic Island 2. But I think that like you and there's legal implications, but like let's look at the print run for Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited. Multiply that by the difference in value in the Magic Online versions of the card versus the real life versions of the card. Now, WotC and Hasbro aren't going to intentionally burn money, but that I think is money worth burning. Look at the joke that was Magic 30. Because they wanted to reprint reserve cards, they had to make them non-playable. So they wanted to sell those for like $1,000 a pack, and now some collectors bought in. Absolutely, some people did. It's fun to crack expensive cards, and it's fun to crack really powerful cards. But that, I don't think it's healthy for the longevity of long formats like that. Or long formats like CEDH, like things that use the entire history of cards in the game. The like if I could get a volcanic island for $25, we could stop proxy tournaments in CDH. Wizards could support CDH properly if they didn't have the reserve list. Wizards could properly support Legacy and Vintage. You know how cool it would be to play a Black Lotus? You know how cool it would be to go to, like, I could play Legacy tournaments without having to spend $30,000 on a deck or however much it costs in our Canadian rupees compared to the American dollar?
And
I would love to play Legacy. I love playing Powerful Magic. I am hard locked out by the reserve list.
uh, and with how popular Commander is now, Wizards would love to run actual CDH tournaments.
Yeah,
That's just money they'd want
absolutely.
to have. But the reserve list is standing in their way from doing that.
Look at the big money they're making on like that other tournaments are making in their stead. Just because they're allowed to have like you're about to go spend a fair bit of money to go down and play at Niagara Falls. Imagine if they had a CDH like a proper qualification cycle for it.
They
All
should.
those
They
all those
absolutely.
players play shitty standard right now. Standard sucks right now. I played it. I didn't qualify. I'm a little salty about it, but I played it. It's a like it sucks. Standard sucks, and people still play to try to qualify. And you're telling me people won't play the most popular format at the most competitive level? No, they will. They absolutely will. They're just locked out because we can't use proxies and we can't have reserve list cards. There aren't enough reserve list cards to properly to like have a proper CDH, even Legacy, Vintage, any of that. There's not enough reserve list cards to go around for that. That is a major problem holding back very powerful, cool Magic.
I do want to make a quick comment on kind of like the legal implications. Yes, there will probably be lawsuits, but the lawsuits that would be kind of derived from this is kind of similar to lifetime licenses for programs and stuff like that, right? And there has not been a super successful lawsuit against a lifetime license that expired.
Well,
In a sense.
so I don't know much about the legal implications of lifetime licenses, but they didn't put an expiry on the reserve list, which is probably their biggest mistake. But
I think maybe a one time reprint isn't a bad idea. Like, wouldn't tank the prices for a long period of time.
Well,
But
they have reprinted stuff on the reserve list. With the Mox Diamonds, the Judge Mox Diamonds, and
and they got in hella shit
was
for
it
that.
bad? That
They
was all
the
before I
collect
played, so I don't know.
This was before I played, but I looked into it. Yeah, and they got in hella like the investors raised a stink because they printed an identical card. They came off. That's when they changed the reserve list to not just we're not reprinting these cards, but we're not reprinting special versions of these cards because that was a special version. It was a limited run. And they're not going to reprint synonymous cards.
Is it just publicity trouble, or did they actually have to make a payment out? Because
I
that's
don't think they
two
had to make
very
a
different
payment, but
things.
I think there was threats of lawsuits, and that kind of scared them all.
so the difference I see is that even if there's a lawsuit, they're going to make way more money from reprinting than they were
That's
going
the
to lose
thing,
to.
right? Look at
Yeah.
how much they're charging for boosters now. Imagine if Magic 30 boosters, the price they charge, what was it, like 250 a booster or something stupid like that? Imagine if they could charge that and the cards were useful.
It does have a bad track record, though, is how would you trust them for serialized cards, for 101 cards, for all that stuff if they've done it once with the
So
reserve list?
serialized cards are fine because there's much cheaper versions available that you can pick up for a fraction of the cost.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, people who are chasing the serialized cards, and then people say, oh, they promised the reserve list and they broke it. How do you know in the future they don't break the serialized cards? That's all. But I agree with you
So
that,
I think serialized is a different topic in a sense because
Yeah.
serialized is they're specifically labeled as one of 500, right?
yeah,
Like there's millions of magic cards in the world that have ever been printed, they don't need to reprint serialized Kenrith. Like
And
that
for what
never
it's
needs
worth,
to
I
come back up.
love serialized cards. It's a great idea how you have cheap cards for just playability, and then the collectors, if
Yeah,
they want to
I think
chase,
it's a great idea.
yeah,
I think the other way you get around serialized cards is you just like print Kenrith A with this, and then Kenrith B with a different art.
yeah,
Yeah,
with a different
an
art.
Alpha Black Lotus is still going to be $100,000 card,
Yeah, because
even
if
if you
the
reprint
alpha
Black
part's the
Lotus.
collectible, this
Yeah.
is that's another very good point. Is the collectability is in the rarity of that very specific printing.
Um, just to wrap this up, I've got my last overreaction question here.
Okay, hopefully
Um,
it's as good as that one. I am shaking. It's so
oh,
excited
this is
about
another one for you here. I know this has been tried in the past, and it didn't work out at all. But with tournaments being essentially run through without Wizards of the Coast, we should have a separate ban list for tournaments,
for tournament CDH.
for tournament CDH, because
Well,
it's
that's played
separate
out
from
many times.
casual.
So
I'm against that.
So
I'll put that out there.
playing, to mention them again, playing with power last year, Ryan, around the time of all the bands, the big bands that shook up the format, he waited like a day, day and a half, and then put out a video. But like I get it, it's not criticizing him waiting. But he put out a video after thinking about it and doing a very well collected video, a very calm video about splitting off the format and how there were other attempts at it in the past, and all of them ended up banning the cards that were being banned that time. I think if we end up if CDH were or tournament EDH, whatever you want to call it to differentiate it, if whatever format you end up breaking off ends up just banning the things that make CDH not really what
CDH,
it is,
right? Yeah.
but it's like part of the fun of CDH is you play with the most powerful cards. And yeah, Underworld Breach is a great card, super powerful. Part of the fun for me is that I get to play that card alongside the other powerful cards, right? I'm sure if they banned Underworld Breach or Thassa's Oracle or Demonic Consultation, I'm sure I would still play Magic and probably still play CDH. I don't know if I would enjoy it as much, but I would still play it.
I think CDH has a very. I don't like the idea of splitting off the bands off of CDH, because the idea for me is if someone has a very high power deck and they want to join a tournament, they can.
They can,
Um,
yeah.
it's the same format, just played to win. Um, and I think in the past the ban list was always focused on um, playability of the format in a casual stance, and Wizards has taken a stance against that, where they don't want to ban because of casual. They want to restrict because of casual, right? They want to restrict people from playing multiple terrible cards or CDH playable cards in a tier 1 or tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 deck, right? I think that's a better approach. I think bans should be kind of like a vintage idea, where vintage wants to restrict cards before banning, and they only ban the cards that are horrifically busted.
Great. Okay, I wanted to hear your guys' reactions because I hear that a lot. Oh, they're not banning or focusing on our format. We should have our own. But no, I like, we're playing Magic as like just like everyone else, and we're just cranking the power up as high as we can, playing with the
Yeah.
best, playing with the
Like
competitive.
if you want to play without those cards, find an alternative format that doesn't play with those cards.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
There's lots of them out there. They're niched, but I'm sure I
Dual
haven't looked into it
Commander,
much.
Brawl.
Dual Commander, yeah, Dual Commander doesn't have any of the fast mana, and it has a bunch of other things banned. And I think it sees play at Chimera. Like
Yeah,
they
they
don't
do
fire
that.
every
Yeah.
week, but they have it. They did a 1K for it one time. I wasn't able to attend. Is that the one you were able to attend, Andrew?
I know. I was
I was
thinking,
invited to it, and I was like, "Fuck no." I don't like
Because
the
it's a
idea of
different
Dual
format,
Commander.
right?
I mean, I'd
I don't
definitely
have a
try it
deck
if I
for
had the
it.
time.
It's
I'd,
like
I'd go to it and just
Yeah.
play cards.
it's
And
also zero proxy. It's like I don't have a deck for it. I'm not going to spend $800 on a deck for the last
On
second,
one
like
tournament. Yeah.
for one tournament. Like I was like debating it, but I was like, okay, there's none of my decks that I have in CDH are A, viable, B, legal, and I would need to at least buy like 2 dozen cards just to be able to play. Like it's not worth it for me. If I already was invested in a format, I would play it, but I'm not
For sure,
invested
yeah.
in the format.
I was thinking about
Yeah.
going. I was looking at my AC deck. I think I was just going to go AC because it doesn't run a lot of ramp, just like land ramp, not artifacts. But I think there something else came up. I forget what, but yeah,
Also, a
I'd go
two-player
to it if you
format's
do
so
it again.
different.
Two-player format's very different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us for some fiery conversations. My name again is Joseph. That's Kevin. That's Andrew. Thank you guys for coming, and see you next week.
See you next week.
See you. You guys catch the Jays last night?
No, I
I
never
watched the
watched
Jays
it.
game. You missed a good one.
World Series,
Yeah, I
baby.
saw that. Yeah, they cut a clip of. I was watching football and I saw like they showed it.
Oh yeah. Well, 'cause, Seattle was playing, right? Yeah.
I know you brought a spicy deck to the last tournament. Should we all bring? Well, I guess Joe, you need points. Are you bringing like Blue Farm? I'm torn between Blue Farm or Joyra for Woodstock. What are you thinking, Kevin?
I'm gonna bring Gwenum. I'm basically probably gonna print off Gwenum tomorrow, and Thursday, Friday, I'll find time basically to practice and get some league games in with Gwenum.
Okay.
Looks really fun. Yeah. I wish it had gone off in the game that I played against it, but we lost to that like turn 3, I think, Ezio. It was a great tournament. It's funny that you mentioned Rhystic Study too, because I'm like, they would never do that with a card, but like a year ago they did it with Meat Hook Massacre too.
Yeah, they did, right?
Like they would actually do that with a card.
I was trying to think of a name. I just kept thinking of like Sylvan Library, Sylvan Ristic. I don't know.